Hello everyone, Monarch here once again, and today I was thinking about my previous video about who might be the top 10 Smash players to come into Nickelodeon All-Star game, and I was wondering, who had the more inherent advantage when coming into the game? With that being said, I thought I would make a fun little video, comparing the two games and showcasing each game's strength. Maybe if this video is interesting enough for you guys, I'll do the same for other games such as Brawlhalla and Rivals of Aether. Now, let's get right into the video. For each section, I'm going to start with the strengths of each game, then onto their weakness, and what they tie in. The game's mechanics are definitely way more similar to Melee, as there are traits such as wave dashing and really bad advantage state options, with the removal of air dodging. Melee players are used to maneuvering appropriately to escape the disadvantage state of being juggled, as opposed to Ultimate players who can get out of bad situations by simply using their frame 2 to 4 air dodges. In Ultimate, these air dodges don't put you into freefall as they do in Melee. So that's why you rarely see this done by the pros in Melee, because it's just not the optimal answer to the situation. Now that air dodging is replaced with air dashing in Nick Brawl, which grants no intangibility, players are going to be forced to maneuver around their opponent's attacks to get in or to escape their combos. With all that being said, I'm going to have to easily give this to Melee players, as they are accustomed to doing so already and will come easily to them. The next topic to bring up is character MUs. In Ultimate, there are practically endless characters that can be seen at high levels of play, and each player has to be ready to play against almost any character at any time. In Melee, there are maybe 5 to 8 viable characters that can make it into top 8. And if those characters aren't played, then you have an insane advantage over the opponent just because your character is drastically stronger than someone like Bowser. While Ultimate has way too many viable characters that can be seen at high levels of play, and they need to be ready to face practically every character at any moment, so for this category, I'm going to have to give it to the Ultimate players. Technical prowess is something players from both games need to perform well. Some of the mechanics in Ultimate can be somewhat difficult, like instant double jumping combos, but for the most part, the mechanics in Melee are just much harder to learn. PowderedToastMan has multi-shining, and you can easily bet Melee players are going to have that character on lock starting day 1. Nick Brawl is practically a combination of both games, while also making mechanics easier in the game for casual players, such as the wave dashing macro. It'll take some time, but I don't believe it'll take Ultimate players that much longer to be able to pick up these mechanics with the implemented macro. With that being said though, mechanics such as wave dashing is in a Melee player's blood at this point, and they'll be able to utilize this on a much higher level and much quicker than Ultimate players. So I do believe Melee players have the advantage here, but I don't think it's that large of an advantage as the game has been simplified for Ultimate players to be able to catch up quite quickly. Labbing is an important factor in improving in games, and with each new character that is released is the potential to find new tech the game has to offer. Melee has the unfortunate factor that they don't receive any new characters unless you want to include Beyond Melee or P+. But even then, Ultimate still has much more to deal with. Ultimate players are just used to labbing out new techniques because they have so many characters to choose from, and that might help them out when finding new tech in Nick Brawl. Though we can't leave Melee players behind in this either, as they are always finding random new techniques even 20 years after the release of the game. You can see them constantly in training mode improving their wave dashing, ledge dropping, L canceling, multi-shining, and other advanced tech. With all that being said, I'm going to have to give this category a tie, maybe on the Melee side of things, as the players from both sides are just lab masters. The new blood randomness factor. We've been seeing more and more prodigies appear in the game, such as MKLeo, Zachary, Spargo, Prodigy, DD, and many more. They just keep appearing out of nowhere and taking the world by storm, and showing so much hidden potential and growth. For Melee, this isn't as common, as the winners are typically the Smash Gods, Plup, Axe, Wizrobe, Zane, etc. The main issue for this sort of thing is accessibility, and getting the younger audience to get their hands on an age-old game like Melee. They are no longer selling any more copies, and setting up Dolphin is not as simple as just putting in an Ultimate disc. I do believe there would be more new blood in the game if the game was more easily accessible with a single download link, but the game is also very unfriendly for new players. When you hop into online playing to get better at the game of Melee, you're majority of the time going to find a player who's practiced the game for a long time and stomps you. It's not as forgiving as Ultimate, where there are plenty of players at a similar skill as you, and you can slowly learn the game and improve. For this category, I'm going to have to give this to Ultimate. Motivational factor plays a huge part in any game, as the person who spends more time on the game is most likely going to perform better. We aren't going to include prodigies in this category, as they are the exception to the rule, but typically, the person who trains longer is going to have a better grasp of the game. Melee players are grinders when it comes to practicing their game. Even if top 8 is happening on the main stage, you'll still find many players on setups nearby looking to better improve themselves at the game. If you're a melee player, you're most likely a dedicated player who has spent many hours honing your skills. Now, I don't want to say Ultimate players don't practice as much, but when you see a tournament bracket running, you'll see many Ultimate players leaving the venue early, or the setups will just be empty with no one on it. So I'm gonna have to give this one to the melee players. Now, one of the biggest factors is how many players are going to come from each side. An army of 500 versus 5,000 is obviously going to favor the side that has more opportunity to break through. There might be some elite few holding the fronts in the 500, but the 5,000 has many more players to overtake them and surpass them. Ultimate has a much larger player base as it's just the newer title and is more easily accessible than Melee. Plus, they are also getting patches from time to time to shake things up, so the game is ever so changing and interesting for new players. With so many characters in the game, you're bound to find a character that fits you just right, and that just leads to more players going over to Smash Ultimate. So this category is going to easily go to the Ultimate players. Now that we have discussed the strengths and weaknesses of both sides, how are we going to prove once and for all which side is actually better when it comes to Nick Brawl? Well, luckily for all of us, one of my subscribers, Mousy, linked me to a clip where Ludwig accidentally leaked that he was going to create a Melee vs Ultimate $10,000 crew battle to prove once and for all who's better adapted to the new Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl game. I can't wait to see the video, and I believe the players from both sides are going to do amazing. My final thought after creating this list is that the Smash Ultimate players are going to have a very slight advantage when it comes to the game, just because the sheer number of players on their side and how many hidden prodigies are lurking around. What do you guys think? Leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Have an amazing day to all of you, and peace!